Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. The Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and a few good old boys from Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful July the 9th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, I'm trying to feel myself out down here. I'm trying to decide, do I want to fly to England or do I want to fly to Russia? But I figure if I fly to England, I might be able to get back out of the country.
Back home?
But if I go to Russia, I don't know what the minority ticket looks like over there, so I'm a little worried about that.
Well, that's funny. I think you're better off flying to England, Big C. They seem to be a little bit more friendly to the people from the United States. And I tell you what, there's so much going on. The World Cup is almost coming to an end. We right now are coming up on the semifinals, France versus Belgium, Croatia versus England. And I'm telling you, a lot of people are excited about the World Cup, Big C. You know, we love that too. I tell you right now, everybody's getting money in the NBA. This guy's signing $150 million contracts, haven't won a thing. The baseball All-Star game's coming up in about another week and a half or so, and people are looking forward to that. Even college football is kicking off, so a lot of people getting ready for the college football. But we'll start with the World Cup. I just want to get your thoughts. Why would you ever want to even consider flying into Russia when you know you may not? It's like a one-way trip to Mars, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think about it. I had a flashback to Rocky III, where when Apollo Creed lost to Drago and lost his life over there in Russia and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been kind of ticked off about that ever since. I mean, I think they set Apollo up in that fight. And, you know, Drago didn't have to do that to him.
No, he didn't have to.
And, I mean, Apollo was a great champ and representative of America, you know, in film lore.
Yes.
And to have his life end in such a devastating way over there in Russia. But it also showed the doping that Russia was doing during that time.
Yeah.
That Apollo, you know, had to fight Drago, and it showed Drago taking injections and all of that.
During the fight.
You know, it made me very elated the other day, Charlton, when Russia lost in the World Cup.
Yes.
It said, okay, drugs can't get you everything.
No, it can't.
All right?
It can't.
It might have got you the host of the country. You know, it got you some Olympic gold medals over the years.
Yep.
But it couldn't get you a World Cup championship. Even with all the needles and doping that you did for your athletes, you had home court advantage, Charlton.
Yep.
But when they got knocked out, I thought that was vindication for what Drago did to Apollo in Rocky III.
You took it way back in the day, Big C. You know, it is ironic that I wonder how many people have lost their jobs or their lives when it comes to Putin, because Russia's not going to be in the World Cup. They spend a lot of money just to make that happen. I also wonder what the crowd would be like. The one thing I do like about, I mean, it's hard to say you like anything about Russia when you know most of the blood doping, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's World Cup, even weightlifting, boxing, it's almost like they laugh at it and they get awarded the World Cup. To me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but a lot in the world doesn't make sense. But for Croatia and England is more of, I guess, an aristocratic representation of the World Cup, and you would expect them to have a good time or an easier time beating Croatia than they would have had maybe beating Russia had Russia gotten in. And then France playing Belgium. You have another aristocratic city in Paris and in the country of France representing the World Cup. At least they don't have the same history of doping that you have with Russia, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they also a country, Charlton, that have more human rights when you think about that. And that's a great show for the World Cup. To have countries that represent human rights being a representative of the World Cup.
Yeah.
To show that they care about their people, that they have equality over there, Charlton, and not oppression, like you see in some of these other countries, Charlton, where people can't move about freely, can't vote freely, can't shop in a market freely, Charlton. So I think that's one of the greatest things about the World Cup is that we get to see different regions of the world represented and we see the true cheer. Now, see, I watched the World Cup on the Spanish channel.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to seem like a basketball game. Because when you listen to the announcers on Univision and Telemundo, Charlton,
yes,
it's like watching an NBA Finals game.
Yeah.
I mean, every move is exciting and it has oomph in it. You know,
yeah.
These guys are serious. And when they score a goal, I can get up, go to the men's room, come back, and they still announcing the goal. That's how long they last.
Go!
And so I'm doing what he says, you know. I'm doing what he says. He's urging me on to hurry up, you know, and get back to the seat.
Yeah, I do love when I watch the Telemundo and you watch the way they cover their sporting, even watching the way they cover their boxing. They have so much passion into it, and a lot of the people that follow the fights from Latin America, I just think how we have such passion for the sports of the United States, but I think they have as much or even more down in the Latin American countries, and they really stand behind it. And their broadcasters, they're not prim and proper when they do a game. They really bring out the excitement. Do you think that's just the way they're trained coming up, Big C? Is it a cultural thing? Because I would love to see more of our United States broadcasters with that same type of vigor for a broadcast. I think the closest to it is a guy by the name of Gus Johnson, who does a lot of work college and NFL sports. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, when I listen to the Latin broadcast, it's about making the fan feel good, to let the fan know that the broadcast is about them for their entertainment. When we look at so many U.S. broadcasters now, it's all about me.
Yeah.
How do I look? How do I sound? How do I play to the guy next to me? When you listen to a Spanish broadcast, whether it's boxing, whether it's soccer, Charlton, these guys are fans.
Yeah.
They are true fans of the sport. Not only are they experts in what they're talking about, Charlton, but they're fans, and you see that coming out. One of the things about the Latin nations, Charlton, when they're doing a broadcast, it's not a regional thing. It's a national thing.
Yeah.
And that's where the passion comes from. When you watch a broadcaster of a U.S. sporting event, Charlton, as they say, you're not supposed to be a homer. I remember doing games, and they said, well, you can't be a homer, you can't show, you know, partisan towards one side or the other. You know, you have to go down the middle. You know, what they're doing is showing excitement towards the entertainment, Charlton, regardless of which team does what.
Yes.
They electrify the event in their delivery, you know, as far as getting it to that home basis, viewing the game on television or the boxing match on television, Charlton. You know, one of the greatest things about U.S. sports is listening to it on radio.
Yeah.
If you ever want to enjoy a U.S. sporting event, and I know everybody's fallen in love with the broadcasters on television,
yes,
because of the certain things that they say. But if you ever really want to appreciate a U.S. sporting event, turn off the television.
Yeah.
Cut the volume of the television. Turn on the radio broadcast, Charlton. Now it's going to be just like what you get in the Spanish broadcast, Charlton. You're going to get a lot of enthusiasm. You're going to get people telling you about what players are doing in the game.
Yeah.
They're going to describe everything that you see. You're going to have someone explain. The closest we can get to it here in the U.S., Charlton, was Tony Romo last year doing NFL football.
He's actually really good.
Tony Romo was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
You know, because everything had become so stagnant about me. It's about me and me telling you. You know, when you listen to the same analysts for the last 15, 20 years, they couldn't change up what they were doing.
No.
Tony Romo came in and told you that these guys are boring.
Yep.
It's what he did. I mean, every analyst on all the NFL broadcasts should all send a Christmas gift for Tony Romo.
Yep.
Matter of fact, put some money in it. You know, because what Tony Romo did for them was tell them, say, guys, quit being so stagnant.
Yes.
You have fans that are watching the game, and you owe it to them to be more professional about what you do other than just being yourself.
I agree.
Let this fan know that you appreciate the game just like they do. Charlton, you know, you think about the alcohol business on Sunday in America, and even on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because these guys want to sit back and be relaxed and have you explain everything that they don't want to do. I mean, even the adult diaper sales go up because some guys don't even want to get out of their chair. Okay.
Hey, that gave me an idea, Big C. Is that's what I think that's what I'm going to put in my Christmas list. That that adult diaper thing, because a lot of times, guys, you don't want to be disturbed by having to go use the restroom. I do want to say, I just want to say this segment sponsored by your Dorothy, California Cadillac leaders, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So Big C, we started off, with the World Cup. Wanted to add some rock and roll music into it, because I know that's what a lot of my Russian brethren like. They like that. I don't know if they're really into the hip hop, so we didn't want to be ostracized from Russia. So I thought I'd add some rock and roll to it. But I like that point that you started with. And when you see the same thing over and over again, you kind of get used to it, but you also can block it out too, because it's the same thing. And I like what Tony Romo did bring to the broadcast booth. A lot like, when I saw Stuart Scott, the late Stuart Scott on ESPN, he brought something fresh, something spectacular to the world of broadcast, and it really could not be emulated. That's what I like about guys who don't sound the same. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it is so true. I mean, you have to take a risk sometime and be genuine about what you do. You can't walk in. It's like they have broadcasting schools all over the country.
Yeah.
Where they tell people how to talk, how to enunciate, what pace to go at, what you want, and what not to say. But you're also shackling somebody. You're not letting them be genuine.
Yeah.
It's just like what we do on our show. We don't have a script that we follow. We go all over the place. We cover many bases, whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whether it's even your dating site. We do that.
Did you ever get the dating site up, though, Big C? I've been looking for BigCDate.com, and all I find is like some Russian stuff. Did the Russians hack that site too, Big C?
We even talked about Justify's dating site. How he was going to have a lavish life. Nobody's going to explain it to you like that, Charlton.
Yeah.
But what we talk about is real. And when you can get an analyst now, Charlton, because they all tried to be this showman.
Yeah.
Not about the entertainment of the game, about how they are about themselves.
Yeah.
How can I get you to concentrate on me? Tell me something about the game that I might be missing.
Yes.
Take me to a point that might have gotten past me. Bring me back in a replay. Show me what happened actually on this play, other than what the normal ones are.
Yeah, that's something.
Because it's easy to see the three-point shot. It's easy to see the pick and roll, Charlton. Take me into the nuances of it, of how it happened. When I'm sitting here watching a baseball analyst, Charlton, which is the toughest sport of all to analyze.
Yeah.
But yet you're not telling me anything. You're not. That's why I say go to the radio broadcast. Listen to that local team's radio broadcast, and he's going to explain everything to you. The guys on television and ladies also, they're sitting there, joking with each other.
Yeah.
Even in serious points in the game. They're not touching on what a team needs to do. So this is what I mean by the broadcasters of today's era have forgotten about the fan.
Yeah.
And they're thinking more about themselves.
I think Vin Scully comes to mind when you get educated. I still don't know. I mean, I know why Joe Morgan doesn't have a job, but I felt like every time I watched Joe Morgan do a baseball broadcast, I felt like I was in baseball broadcasting school, because he had such great conversation about the game. And I felt like every time I watched him do his broadcast, I came away knowing more about the broadcast than I knew going into that broadcast. And it's a shame that the network let him go, because he sued, I think it was the county of Los Angeles for being beaten up by law enforcement. And that's a shame that they let him go for that, because he's one of the best baseball broadcasters out there. He and Vin Scully, the late, Vin Scully stepped aside from it. But I felt like I was always being educated, as opposed to some guy reminding me about how he played the game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's so true. He and Harold Reynolds were a breath of fresh air when they were doing broadcasts. They emulated what a radio broadcaster does on television, is that they spent time analyzing the game, analyzing the play, telling you how they set up the defense, Charlton, for certain players, tendencies of the game.
Yeah.
Because not only had they played, Charlton, and they studied the game well as players, but they kept studying the game, Charlton, even after they left the game.
Yeah.
And most of these guys don't. It's from road trip to road trip, broadcasting a game, not really caring about They have a lineup card. They know who's in the lineup. They're reading some stats, Charlton. about who's hitting what fielding percentage, what DRA. They're looking at that stuff. But they're not going beyond that. They're not taking you in depth with the players. They're not doing, the breakdown of what the manager does during the game in certain situations. These are his tendencies. These are the things that are missing so much from the game. And when you're looking at it from a fan's perspective, I want you to take me home with you, basically.
Yeah.
That's what a fan is expecting from a broadcast. I want to know what it's like to sit on your couch and enjoy a game.
Yeah.
And that's what these analysts have forgotten to do, Charlton. You can sit down, and everybody's an analyst when they're at home because they're breaking down games.
Yeah.
But when you're not telling me more, and you're the guy on television making a few $1 million, then my buddy sitting there next to me, his knowledge of the game is greater than yours, and all he's doing is charging me a couple of beers.
Yeah, he's charging for the beers too. You thought you were getting them free, but bring your own beer is something else. I was talking to just some baseball coaches and a couple of guys that I've known here in Northern California, and how they've had guys go on to play in the major leagues, and some have gotten into broadcasting. Going to be having some conversations with them coming up later in the year. But I really think the fact that when you have someone, like Morgan, and then there's some couple of guys in the Bay Area that are really solid too, Krupp and Kipe, they have these conversations with you. But Scully is one of the rare guys that can actually do a broadcast on his own. And you felt like the reason he did it for 50-plus years is that he just had that thing. He didn't try to copy somebody else. I think sometimes we can get coached too much. And sometimes in coaching, if you talk to 10 different people, those 10 different people are going to tell you how to do it. Even in doing our own show, there are guys who say, well, maybe you should do it more like this. Maybe you should do it more like that. Well, those guys are already out there. You don't want to dance like everybody. Does that make sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when Vince Scully started out, Charlton, on television, he worked with a crew. Then he realized how well he was as an individual. Because at times, that co-person in the broadcast, Charlton, would get lost.
Yeah.
They would go off into areas that did not adhere to the broadcast.
Yeah.
That did not, work with what the game was doing, Charlton. And that's where Vince Scully excelled beyond everybody else, Charlton.
Yes.
Is that here it is, he's a guy that focused on the broadcast. Not about himself, he focused on the broadcast. So he paid attention to every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
And he was never distracted by having a co-broadcaster in the box with him, Charlton.
Yeah, I think that's
good.
good.
So he could give all his attention to the fans that were paying attention to him.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about sitting on your buddy's couch and relaxing and having them explain it to you. That's what Vince Scully was doing.
Yeah.
He was your friend in the broadcast booth. He made it personal between himself and the Dodgers fans for decades, Charlton, that this is what it's about. I'm here for your pleasure.
Yeah.
Not for mine.
Yeah.
I'm here for your pleasure. And that's what broadcasters need to take a step back, and even the broadcast companies, and say, guys, we're going to do things different. And there was a commercial years ago, Charlton, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was done by United Airlines. And this is when the internet started to expand, Charlton, and everybody was faxing. The new age technology started to come along. And this corporate CEO came he called everybody into work one day.
Yeah.
And he said, I got a call from an old friend. And he said he's going to start doing business with somebody else because we don't see him anymore.
Yes.
We don't meet him face to face. And he said, what we're going to do is that he started passing out airline tickets to everybody, Charlton.
Yeah.
All his employees. This is where they were going to go. They were going to go out and see the customers face to face again, instead of a fax and a phone call. And they said, "Well, what are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going to go see that old friend."
Yeah.
So he will keep doing business with us.
Call the handshake.
And that's what broadcasters need to do. Go back and visit that old friend that when you got into the industry that you cared about, and make them stay with you. They talk about ratings are down, especially in the NFL, Charlton. And they want to blame the players that the ratings are down. No, the broadcasts are boring. That crap is boring.
Same old thing.
So no one pays attention to it.
Yeah.
It's every station where the analyst is trying to be like the previous analyst. They're all cookie cutting. That becomes boring to the fans. And so when the NFL and everybody else want to say that it was about players kneeling and people were tuning it out, no, they were tuning out the cookie cutting, boring broadcasters and analysts that they get tired of listening to, which channel they change to. It's all the same.
Well, I'll also contend that what's happened is technology has changed. I don't think the viewership is down at all. I think they don't put a Nielsen rating on your cell phone. And you can watch, a lot of people are streaming. I watched some people just over the past week listening to different games and watching not the Olympics, but the World Cup on their phone. They were not in their homes. They were not in some sports bar. And there's no Nielsen ratings on your handheld phone. Most people, if you have a handheld phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone, you can download the apps. And when people can download the apps, they're not tracked by Nielsen. So when they say, well, ratings are down, no, ratings are not down. People are taking the games with them. That's what the smart advertisers will understand. Your ratings are not down. The only thing is down is people staying home for 3 hours to watch a game. They can go to the gym and take their phone, whether it's iPad, Android, or iPhone, and watch that same game and don't miss a beat because they can go to the bathroom. They take their phone with them to the bathroom. I know you see guys in the restroom, Big C, doing their business, watching their device, which is not always a safe environment, Big C. Your thoughts?
So you're trying to say that's why church is not getting out early anymore, Charlton, and everybody's got an earplug in, even the ministers got an earplug in, and we can't see what he has up there on his podium. So you're saying he's got his tablet up there
he sure does.
with the game is on, and when a good play or something is made, he says, he's emulating what's going on in the game. He's not talking about the sermon that he's preaching.
We all know you can watch it on your phone, and the smart advertisers understand that. That's why everybody's streaming. I mean, a lot of people you watch in the next 3 to 5 years, a lot of people will get rid of their cable box because you don't need it. You're hardly home anyway. The downfall of cable, and some of the cable companies are going to realize it, phone companies now are competing with cable companies. It's hard to get a cable company for less than $100 a month. And all it does is show you TV. You can get a phone plan, and they include unlimited data and free roaming. For about the same price, you can make phone calls on it, you can take videos with it, you can watch movies, you can text, you can email. It's like an office in your hand. That's what the old boys who follow Nielsen haven't figured out yet. No, they're not losing people. They're gaining technology, and technology doesn't need Nielsen to tell you if they're watching it. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense, Charlton, because we are a mobile society. I mean, when I'm on a flight, everyone has movies that are downloaded on their tablets, on their phones.
Yep.
You know, it used to be on a plane you got on and they sold you a little headset for a few dollars, Charlton. Let you plug in and watch the movie up there on the little screen on the plane. Very few planes offer that now, Charlton, because everyone, as you said, they are streaming. They've downloaded a movie or two before they get on the plane that they have on their phone.
Yeah.
I mean, and now this thing called Fire Stick, you get stuff shortly after it's released in the theaters, Charlton.
Now, what is Fire Stick? Is that like a cable, or is that like something a device that you put in your TV?
It's like a joystick. It's like the little stick that you would put into your computer.
Okay.
It actually plugs into the phone.
Oh, okay.
You get them at most electronic outlet stores, Charlton. And so you can get the movies you want. You don't have to go to Redbox or any other place. And it's not the stuff that you're going to be getting on, the cable channels all the time, because they have catalogs, Charlton, that go back 20 years.
Yes.
In movies. I sit up and watch movies all the time on my Fire Stick because I don't want to go to the theater.
Yeah.
Within a month after a movie's been released, I have it on my Fire Stick.
Okay.
I can sit at home, watch it as many times as I want. I can pause it, so I can go get some libation or go into the men's room, either one, and come back, and it's right there, Charles.
Yeah, I tell you what, an experiment that anyone can do. We talk about the World Cup being in Russia, of all places. Anywhere in a stadium in the United States, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, boxing, anything, you can look into the audience, look into the fans, and there's many fans watching the game on their phone, or they're watching other games on their phone while they were there. I'll never forget, about 20 some odd years ago, before I got into the broadcast business, I went to a 49er game at Candlestick. They were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I wanted to hear what was happening with the Oakland Raiders game. They happened to be, on right at the same time. So I had my transistor radio. I remember back in the day, my father, he would listen to the fights on his radio. And Nielsen didn't track if he was listening to the fight. So they couldn't say that he was or that he wasn't. All they knew is that their radio stations had a certain reach. But no, he wasn't watching always on his TV. But he always had that transistor radio up to his head, up to his ear. And the new technology is the same thing, but it's just video. So Big C, I got to learn about the Fire Stick also, because I don't want to be left behind when these young people are talking about that. That make any sense, Big C?
Well, Charlton, they got so many different types of streaming television now where you can a la carte and pay for what you want. You don't need the cable box stuff. As you say, you don't have to pay $60 to $100 a month to get the movie. You could get it for $20, $25 a month and get the dozen or 20 channels that you want to watch.
Wow.
You buy a cable package now, Charlton, I don't think they give you anything less than 150 channels.
Yeah.
And there's 10 of them that you want to watch. But you got all these shopping networks, cooking channels, and replay channels, foreign language channels, Charlton, and nothing that you want to pay attention to.
No.
I mean, if you're a person and you have 150 plus channels on your television a month, Charlton,
yes,
you have to be unemployed to pay attention to what's coming on.
Yeah.
If you can spend more than 4 hours a day watching television, Charlton, you got a problem in your life.
Yep.
You honestly do.
Well,
you got a problem.
I was watching this thing over the last couple of days. This dating, it's not even a date channel. It's about these women. They haven't heard of mononucleosis because they're all kissing some bachelor dude. That they'll put 15 women on a TV show, and they pick one guy, and they're all kissing this guy in the mouth, and they're all wanting to be this guy's wife, this made up movie wife, and they act as if this guy is so demeaning to the women, but they all want that 15 minutes of fame, so they'll pretend that this guy is the one they want to meet. They even bring their parents, so their parents can say, "Mom, this guy that you just saw kissing 14 girls before me, he's the guy that I want to be your son-in-law." And they'll have, in the Me Too movement of all days, they'll have that guy doing that. But even on a date, you watch next time you go out to a restaurant, how many people are actually on their smartphones or iPhones where they're watching something or doing social media. No, the Nielsen ratings are not down. Speaking of being rated, I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and girls and boys sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. And speaking of baseball and ratings being up or down, you look at Mark Reynolds got 10 RBIs for the Washington Nationals, only the 12th player, Big C, in league history to do that. I mean, just a phenomenal performance for one game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about that, Charlton, and Reynolds is not an everyday player. He's a utility player. So he's not in that starting lineup every day. But, this is how people in baseball can make it. Be available.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you never know when your opportunity is going to come along. And to be one of only a dozen guys in baseball history, Charlton, that have a dozen RBIs, 10 RBIs in one game.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. You think about it, you're putting a stick on the ball every time you walk up there.
Yeah, he sure is.
To do something like that, and this is a team with Scherzer and Bryce Harper on it, players of that magnitude, Charlton, perennial all-stars.
Yeah.
But yet you come up and you do something that nobody on this team has ever done.
I tell you what, when you mentioned Harper's name, I don't know if I was dreaming, but I heard somebody mention that they want to give this guy $500 million, and I don't know, how does that make any sense? Never won a World Series, might be a good player, but no one can tell me he's worth $500 million. No one's worth $500 million, but especially a guy who hasn't won anything, and that's what I think is just crazy about stats and scores, and people wanted to add the whole bank. I think if you look at some baseball arenas, I think back to when Barry Bonds, because of him being the home run king, helped build AT&T in San Francisco. I think that cost them $350 million of private money. How can one player even have that type of mention about him? It's just crazy, Big C. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Well, Charlton, that just lets you know how extreme sports has become. When we start looking at all these exorbitant salaries that players are signing in all sports, you know, we saw Matt Ryan with the Atlanta Falcons get $155 million.
Yeah.
He's never won a Super Bowl, but he's the highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. And he plays in the same conference. Think about this, Charlton. He plays in the same conference with Cam Newton, who's been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Same conference with Drew Brees, who by the time he leaves pro football will be pro football's all-time leading passer.
Sure will.
And both of those guys have been MVPs also, Charlton. And Drew Brees has won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And yet Matt Ryan, they're saying, is worth more than both of those guys. And he's not even the best quarterback in his own division.
Yeah.
Think about it. He's not even the best quarterback, not in the NFL, but not even in his own division. And he's the highest paid quarterback. And that takes you to Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to remember the last time the Nationals were in a World Series.
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Even before they became the Nationals, when they were the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
When were they in a World Series? Never. And I'm looking at Bryce Harper, and he's not even the best player in baseball.
No.
There's a kid out there in your neighborhood named Mike Trout.
Yep.
That's unanimous across baseball saying that he's the best player in baseball.
You're out too,
and
baby.
yet you're saying that we're going to give Bryce Harper $500 million, and he's not even batting .250 right now, Charles.
No, he's not. I think it's crazy. And sometimes you got to wonder, do the athletes have something on somebody? Or I know the owners are not hurting for money, but at the same time, you can watch a lot of stadiums, and it's disheartening to see so many empty seats from East Coast to West Coast. And it's not just because some of the games are being played on a weekday when people have to go to work, but the fact that sometimes they just cannot afford the tickets to pay for some of these guys who are not even that good. I mean, anyone tell me, is Harper better than Barry Bonds? Is he better than Hank Aaron? Is he better than Reggie Jackson? Is he better than Yasiel Puig? Is he better than, you look at the Griffey and Jr.? Is he better than Canseco? Is he better than McGuire? Is he better than Pujols? He's not better than any of those guys. So this garbage about making him the highest paid player in the baseball universe, it just doesn't make any sense. They should start drug testing some of these owners at Big C. It just doesn't make any sense. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, back-to-back home runs. And I tell you, the home run derby champs decided to set it out. But even Harper's not better than those two guys, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the thing that you're not looking at when it comes down to Harper and money and those players that you name is the complexion. That's what you're looking at with Bryce Harper. They're saying that he's more marketable than those great players in baseball.
To who?
And that he would be natural in New York. But, Reggie Jackson was a king in New York, just like Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
You look at Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge right now. He's not outplaying either one of those players, Charlton. You can't offer him more money to come to the Yankees than the two All-Stars that you have.
Exactly.
That are just knocking the cover off of the baseball. They're the last two, Charlton, home run champions. You think about it. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton are the last two home run derby champions at the Major League All-Star break.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper is not. And you're saying that he's worth more than these guys, yet he's not outslugging either one of those players. He doesn't have more home runs than either one of those players. And his batting average is not more than either one of those players. So, Charlton, it comes down to marketing and who's pushing. It's the sports broadcast companies, Charlton, that are saying that he's worth that much money because he's not.
Well, I tell you what.
Because if you don't offer it to him, he can't get it.
Well, they
you normally offer a guy that kind of money, Charlton, that has some pedigree about it. And pedigree is what I mean by getting you at least to the World Series.
Please.
Altuve got Houston to the World Series last year, Charlton, and he was the AL MVP.
Yeah.
5'6", and he could propel them to a World Series title, Charlton.
Yeah.
I don't see that in Bryce Harper.
No, I don't see that in Bryce Harper at all. And, I mean, if someone's going to give you the money, give it. But I really wish they would start holding the broadcasters that have something so ignorant come out of their mouth to say that this player, I mean, look at Big Papi. When you look at the East Coast, Big Papi, even if you want to look at Rodriguez, when you look at A-Rod, he can't hold a candle to those guys that played in that same region. There's no way that anyone can justify saying that. I would really hope they start saying, when they, like we say, Google what we say, so if we're wrong, you can say we're wrong right away.
You're going to have to leave Justify out of this. He's playing a different back than the baseball players.
Okay. He's not even better than Jeffrey Osborne, Big Z. He's one of the world's greatest singers, I tell you. But I think if someone gives you the money, great. But really, don't just let any Walter Cronkite, just the facts. Even us on Big C Sports, whatever we say please Google it. Because if we're wrong, we want to find out. We want you to know. If we're not credible, find out now. Don't just take anything that comes out of our mouths as something that you can say, well, you know, it must be true. Why? Because I heard it on Big C Sports. No, Google what we say. Google what everybody says, because it keeps the integrity of the game. I know they want to pay the Caucasian athlete, but you got to look at their stats. Don't be hoodwinked by them wanting to pay a guy with long hair who's not even that good. I mean, not compared to the guys we just named off, whether they're playing or not. I thought one of the better players that were really underpaid, Big C, was Ken Griffey Jr. And I know he played out here on the West Coast, and at the same time, there are guys that can play right now. I mean, we kind of got spoiled, at least out here in the West Coast. You saw some great players down south too. But I saw Barry Bonds up close. I kept stats for the San Francisco Giants back in the late 90s. And I remember Barry Bonds and how dominant he was. And seeing it up close and personal. Seeing Mark McGwire. Seeing Jose Canseco. You know, seeing even Reggie Jackson when I was a young boy back in the day playing. Seeing Rod Carew. Seeing Garvey down there playing in Southern California. I mean, I thought I saw greatness. I saw guys that could be Hall of Fame. I'm not knocking Harper for being a baseball player, but when you want to move him to the front of the line, those guys, they got to test the broadcasters, test them for something. Maybe they should be tested like we test the Russian athletes, Big C, because that's blasphemy when you start just throwing anybody out there just because you want to throw him out there. I don't think that makes any sense. As far as when it comes to even across the pond, Big C, in a different sport, now that we're in the quarterfinals of the Olympics, should we expect Roger Federer and Serena Williams to win it all? When you talk about people being paid at the top of their craft, no one can doubt Roger Federer. No one can doubt Serena Williams. But Bryce Harper from a different sport, win something first. To me, I just don't think it makes any sense to throw it out there to see if someone's going to pay attention. You should really question the broadcast people that tell you that garbage, because it is a garbage. Big C, your thoughts?
It truly is, Charlton. I think of Manny Machado right now, who's been on the trade block all year long from the Baltimore Orioles. And you're talking about two players that play about 35, 40 miles away from each other in D.C. and in Baltimore. Manny Machado is the best player in that region, and yet he can't stay with the Orioles because they're not winning. Bryce Harper, they're talking about him writing his own paycheck. Look at it statistically. Look at Manny Machado's numbers with the Baltimore Orioles. Look at Bryce Harper's numbers with the Washington Nationals. These two players are within 45 miles of each other playing.
Yeah.
And tell me who's worth what. You're saying that this guy, Manny Machado, who has been consistent throughout his career with the Orioles,
sure has
better statistical numbers than Harper's had with the Nationals.
Google it.
But no one's talking about giving Machado $400-500 million, but they're talking about giving it to Harper. He's not a player who goes through these slumps. He's a consistent 300-plus hitter. He's going to get you 35 to 40 home runs every year, Charlton.
Yeah.
But no one is marketing him. Everybody is marketing Bryce Harper, and not for the reasons of baseball, Charlton, for other reasons, because of his look, Charlton. Players should be paid for how they play.
Yeah.
And I don't care what the sport is. All professional sports have gotten to the point where they're playing players too much money, Charlton. You got players on losing teams not even 500.
Yeah.
And these players are being the highest paid players in all leagues: football, basketball, baseball, hockey, Charlton. If you're a sub-500 team and you're the alleged star of this team, Charlton.
Yeah.
And like I said, alleged, because you can't make him a winner.
Nope.
But you're worth more money than a guy who's won a championship in your league.
Yeah.
I keep trying to figure that out, and why. As you say, a big part of it is from the guys that are in our industry.
Yeah.
They're sitting there hyping a guy.
Yeah.
Not because he's a winner, because they like him.
That's true.
And they say, well, it's the talent around him. Sometimes you got to elevate the talent. And I don't know if any of these guys who talk about the talent around somebody have ever gone and watched the New England Patriots play. Tell me how many All-Pros that they have on the New England Patriots. So when they talk about the talent around somebody, when was the last time Tom Brady had an All-Pro running back?
Long time, yeah.
When was the last time he had an All-Pro wide receiver other than Randy Moss? You got to look at his offensive line. Does anybody know two starting offensive linemen on the New England Patriots? Yet they draft picks on his offensive line than what Tom Brady does.
Yep.
And everybody makes an excuse for Eli Manning. He has more number one draft picks at wide receiver than what Tom Brady has.
Yes.
And everybody makes him make it up for Eli Manning.
Yeah.
But when you look at the New England Patriots and tell me who do you know that's on their roster, and yet you go up and down these other rosters and say, well, this guy, well, the other players around him are not upholding theirs. Well, they're all number one draft picks.
Yep.
The Patriots got all these so-sos, and all they do is win championships. So as media makes excuses for the guys that they love, and saying that instead of saying the guy sucks.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what it is. It's like Eli Manning. When you look at the AFC East, Charlton, look at the quarterbacks in the AFC East. You got Carson Wentz and Nick Foles in Philadelphia. Who knows who's going to play? You got Dak Prescott in Dallas.
Yeah.
You got Alex Smith in Washington now.
Yep.
And you got Eli Manning in New York. Eli Manning is the worst quarterback in that division.
Sure is, number-wise.
And yet people want to say, well, no, he's the best because he has 2 Super Bowl rings. What he did 5 and 8 years ago doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It's what can he do today. He can't outplay Alex Smith, who's gotten a bad hand every way he's gone.
Yes.
If Dak Prescott has played consistent in his first 2 years in the NFL, and then you look in Philadelphia, they won the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And the Giants drafted number 3 overall, so who's the worst quarterback in that conference? But everybody wants to give Eli Manning a pass.
Well, look at
what he used to do.
Yep.
You know, they don't tell you that he throws interceptions at a higher rate than any quarterback in the NFL now.
Yeah. Well,
it's just like with Bryce Harper. They're not telling you that he's batting under 250.
Nope.
But he should get $500 million.
For batting under 250.
They don't compare his stats to Manny Machado, who is less than 45 miles away, whose batting average is at least 80 points higher than Bryce Harper. So this is the guys that are in the media in what we do as a business that lie to you and say you should love this guy who's not performing more than the guy who's giving you your money's worth.
And all they got to do is Google it. And then here's another thing, too. In a different sport, 21-year-old, the highest paid player in franchise history, 13th overall pick, 2015 NBA draft out of Kentucky, averaged not even 20 points a game. I mean, I was doing some math. For every period, if you make 5 points, after 4 periods, you made 20 points. Here's a guy averaging 19.8 points a game. Okay? He's averaged 24.5 points last season. He won the 3-point contest as All-Star Weekend in February. He did set a franchise record 70 points versus Boston in one game in 2017. Now, I got to bring that up because we talked about Harper, and there's no way in the universe he's worth $500 million. But Booker set a franchise record for the Phoenix Suns, $158 million. He's the highest scoring guard for the Phoenix. Remember, highest scoring 20 points a game. A 5-year, $158 million deal with the Suns. It goes into effect 2019-2020 season. Tell me if he's one of the top 20 players in the league. He's not, Big C. That money, there's a reason Phoenix is coming in last place. Their arena's empty. They're paying a guy that's not worth, hasn't won anything, and paying him like they must have thought they were signing LeBron James. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it just personifies what we've been talking about, Charlton. You're paying players who haven't won. We talked about that in football. That players that are not winning are commanding all of these huge salaries. Matt Ryan. But when you talk about Booker, the only thing on his resume is that three-point shooting contest, Charlton.
Yep.
And that 70-point game.
With no defense.
One 70-point game.
With no defense.
Now, if I'm not always accurate in the things I say. I guess like a lot of people do, and hope that it's heads or tails when I toss a coin up.
Yeah.
But you draft number 1 overall in the NBA draft, and last I thought that meant you had the worst record in the league.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if things have changed since then, but if you draft number 1 overall, you got the worst record in the league.
Yes.
And the Phoenix Suns drafted number 1 overall.
Yep.
I'm not saying that Devin Booker doesn't have the ability to evolve as an excellent player over the time in the league, but you're paying him on potential, not what he's made his team do.
Yeah.
I kind of like, if I'm making a player the highest paid player in franchise history, like the Lakers just did with LeBron,
yes,
is that at least he brings some fanfare and history of winning to the organization.
Yeah.
Is that potentially my win total will double the following season because I signed this player to this exorbitant contract.
Yes.
I'm guaranteeing my organization another 20 to 25 wins. Now let's compare those two contracts, Charlton, when the season tips off. Which team will have the greatest turnaround in the upcoming season?
Yeah.
Will it be the Phoenix Suns or will it be the Los Angeles Lakers? Who makes the smarter investment? I look at the Lakers right now, and I don't even think that they're finished doing business.
No, they're not.
All the great sports broadcasters out there talking about, well, you don't want to get rid of any of these young players to bring in Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, you do.
Last I checked, Kawhi Leonard's 27 years old.
Yes.
Okay, so I think he still has 10 years left on his belt.
Yes.
Now, you're talking about Brandon Ingram. You're talking about Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
I got them sitting in the back seat of a Volkswagen on their way to Phoenix to San Antonio. Was up to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even buy them a plane ticket. I put them on Greyhound because that's the productivity that they've given me.
Yes.
I'm putting them on Greyhound and I'm charting, a private jet for Kawhi Leonard to get him to L.A. Now, San Antonio gets assets out of this. They get 2 players that they got for at least 3 and 4 years each if they make that trade.
Yeah.
They don't make that trade, they don't get Kawhi Leonard. And not only that, I'm the Lakers because I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw in next year's number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you 3 for 1. I'm going to give you a chance to rebuild your organization because you're not going to compete in the top 5 in the West over the next 3 years with everybody that you've lost.
Yeah, that to me, that signing, maybe they thought Kevin Johnson was coming back. Maybe they thought that Charles Barkley was coming back, but I just don't see how a lot of this makes sense. It's almost like desperation, how they have the money, and instead of taking all of that extra money, Big C, and trying to get some of their fans to come to the games by lowering the ticket prices perhaps, they'll go out and blow all their money on one player who cannot make you a better team. Why? Because he's one player, Big C, and even Booker, I can see if this is a guy that was averaging 33, 34 points a game, but you're talking about a guy that's right around the 20 points and doesn't have a frame, and
Charles,
you can't build around him.
Even with Booker, how do you develop Ayton, your number 1 overall draft pick?
If
you're giving Booker all this money,
yeah.
What is his mindset? I'm the star.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing the wealth. I'm getting mine. In a few years, maybe he can get his. So he's looking at taking more of a larger role with the team instead of incorporating more players.
Yeah. You
just go out, you get the number 1 overall draft pick, a guy who has the potential to grow. He could be the next Embiid, if they play it right.
Yes.
But I don't see that if you're giving Booker all the money, you're telling Booker, okay, you are a marquee guy.
Yep.
The ball will go through you all the time.
Yeah,
and that's what happens in the NBA and all professional sports, Charlton.
Yeah.
When the money is too heavy to one side and it's not equal disbursement, as a player, I don't care what people say. They say, well, you want to be on a winner. Yes, but I want to get paid also like that winner.
Yeah.
Because if that one player could do it all himself, why in the hell don't we just sit on the bench and watch him? He's so good he don't need us.
Yeah. You brought up a good point.
He doesn't perform, it's all put on other players. Just like when I was talking about with Eli Manning, making $23, $24 million with the New York Giants. But they blame everybody else and not Eli.
Yes.
You got to understand, as a professional athlete, when you get older, the game doesn't slow down. You do.
Yeah.
So you know, they talk about you see things better. Yeah, you do. But you just can't get there as fast. You know, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And so these older athletes, Charlton, you know, Carmelo Anthony's one of them. When we look at basketball, you talk about Booker. Look at Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
10 years ago, Carmelo Anthony was one of the elite players in the NBA. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years later, he's not an elite 100 player in the NBA, Charlton.
No.
You know, he's a guy that's hanging on, and you got all this broadcasters talking about, well, he can help this team. He couldn't help the last two teams he was with.
No.
So how's he going to go someplace that has a lineup already and help them coming off the bench when he didn't want that diminished role when he was with OKC last year?
Yeah.
So when we look at these players and they're making this money, and the money is disproportionate, the play is disproportionate also.
Yes.
Because human beings, and let's look at the people who listen to us. You're sitting in your office building. You're sitting in your cubicle. They're paying you $200,000 a year. Good money. But the guy on the cubicle next to you is getting $1.2 million a year.
Yep.
And your work production is better than his.
Yeah.
You're happy?
Nope.
Come on, be realistic. You got a good living that you're making. But he's making $1.2 million, and his work production is less and not of the same quality. And you're saying that you're content.
That's true. You just brought that point up. They made all of the static about how to get the number one pick and who they're going to go with. They go with Ayton, and obviously a kid out of Arizona. People know who he is, even though he didn't have 4 years at Arizona. But they know who he is. And he has the frame to develop into a dominant player in the NBA. Just his frame alone, let alone his defensive ability. Booker can't do anything defensively to help them out. You can't score 70 points. Let's be honest. You cannot score 70 points in an NBA basketball game if you're playing a team that plays defense. In that game against Boston, how many assists did he have in that game? It's almost as if they were trying to do that to at least get them to talk about him. And it may have worked. But at the same time, they have a losing franchise. Now you bring in Ayton, a guy that everybody would have taken had they had the chance. And right after getting Ayton, they take a guy who can't help them win because he's already shown you they're a last place franchise, fighting to come out, not to be in last place of what they're doing in Phoenix. And they put all of that money in the one guy who's not a big guy. He cannot get you points every time he gets on the court, only if you have hands down defense. And to do it at the same time, they get the most prized player in the NBA draft. Ayton has to be thinking, well, what's left for me, Big C? He's already eaten all the food off the table, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, he's going to be shackled with that rookie contract, Charlton, for 4 years. But it also doesn't leave you wiggle room to bring in help, Charlton.
Exactly.
You know, you're going to get the two players you got in the draft. You might get a mid-level free agent here or there. But you're not bringing in any star power, Charlton, to help this team out realistically. That's what you have to look at. I think they signed Gilbert Arenas. That's the free agent they got from Houston. I'm not sure, but you don't hear any big splash in Phoenix as far as free agency superstars. Because we had talked, you know, last month that the last time that Phoenix had a chance to draft this high, it was a coin flip back in '69 between Neil Walk and Lou Alcindor.
Yeah.
Phoenix lost that coin flip. They ended up with Neil Walk. We know the history of Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the NBA. No one can remember Neil Walk. So when you put your franchise in a position that you can't go out and get players to help, to come in and say, okay, the highest paid players on our team is a third or fourth year player, and we want you to take the mid-level veteran, salary, $3.5 million to come play with him.
Yeah.
And he's making $155 million.
Yeah.
But we want to give you $3.5 million, and we want you to help him develop.
Help him develop.
Like I said, it's not a bad paycheck, $3.5 million.
Yes.
But we want you to develop the guy that we're giving all the money to, because he can't do it on his own.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And everybody knows, if the owners have that kind of money, I really wish that we could get a segment with NBA owners and NFL owners too, saying how they make their money. I had someone saying to me, can you believe LeBron James got $154 million to play with the Lakers? And I said, yeah, but how much money does the family have? The Buss family that owns the Lakers. How much money do they have? How do they make their money? And I heard some commentators saying over the weekend that LeBron James, watching the NBA Summer League basketball competition down in Las Vegas and up in Sacramento, and people were saying that the move for LeBron James to Los Angeles was about business. And of course, everybody wants to be a millionaire. I mean, that's everybody's goal if you're a business person. It's just a number that people think about. But LeBron's like, no, I want to be a billionaire. Okay, so I want to be a billionaire too. I think some guy sang that song back in the day. But it's about why he went to Los Angeles. It's more about how the league owners can pay someone like him $150 million to not be the field worker, but to be the guy that owns the field workers. And that's where LeBron James is moving to, Big C. He's already reached the apex of what he can make on the court. Now he wants to be like the guys who signed the paychecks, and that's why, in part, he's going to L.A., Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, L.A. was a mogul move for LeBron, Charles, and it changed the landscapes of many things. Everyone thinks it's just about basketball. He's achieved all he can basketball-wise. He's won 3 titles in his NBA career, Charlton. Been around 15 years. He would have to win at least 3 more titles over the next 5 years, Charlton, to really get to the point where people say, well, he's equal to Mike in titles. He wins 2 titles in L.A., Charlton. Now he's equal to Kobe, Kareem, and Magic.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if LeBron is really chasing titles anymore. He's competitive. He's always been competitive. But LeBron has had his eye on the prize for a long time.
Yeah.
That is being the most successful guy on and off the court in a combination, Charlton, of what he does. He commands attention wherever he goes. It's like with all this talk going on about LeBron here in the U.S. LeBron is in Italy, okay?
Yeah.
He's not here in the U.S., but everybody's making everything about LeBron. The next story that you'll hear come out of L.A. is, well, can he and Luke Walton coexist? Now, you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about when Luke Walton went to the Los Angeles Lakers. And everybody was talking about, well, he hasn't had the success here that he did with the Warriors.
Yeah.
Well, we talked also, they didn't trade the Warrior players.
They hoodwinked them. They hoodwinked them big. He thought Curry and Durant were coming.
they tricked him. They said, we signed Luke Walton also, so Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, all these guys are coming. We picked everybody. But, they took him down there with a bunch of kids who were too busy enjoying L.A. versus enjoying how to play basketball.
Yeah.
Now that he has some tools to work with, we will find out if Luke Walton is a good coach.
Yeah.
If he can get 45 to 50 wins this year in Los Angeles, Charlton, or more, that makes him a very successful NBA coach. And there's no reason why he should not reach the 50-win plateau with the players that they've put together.
Yeah.
I know the Western Conference is tough, but they will be an above 500 team this year in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And do Luke Walton get any credit for that? Or will it all be LeBron? I go back to Bill Parcells. At least let me buy some groceries. They brought in Luke Walton some groceries this year, okay?
Yes.
Last year he was in a food pantry trying to put together a meal.
I understand.
They brought him in some groceries this year. So
yes.
He can cook up some stuff with what he has. But when we look at where these teams are, Charlton, you bring in a superstar, you bring in some tools, some credible tools around LeBron to work with. Well, when you look at some of the players that they surrounded him with and they're still not finished putting this together, they're putting players around LeBron that can play, that want to play. Devin Booker in Phoenix, they signed Devin Booker. But beyond Ayton, who's just a rookie and who will go through the rookie challenges and lumps that you have to take every year, he's not going to be able to dominate the game, Charlton, because of the style of basketball that's played in the West Coast. He's not Anthony Davis yet in New Orleans. So there's a lot of players that he's going to have a tough time with. He has to learn how to get off the blocks and go out and defend on the wing.
Yeah.
But Devin Booker doesn't have a supporting cast like LeBron, who got the same type of contract.
That's a very good point, Big C. So I hope with everybody having fun all over the sports universe, whether it's in Russia playing in the World Cup, across the pond playing, and you're having fun playing tennis. Basketball is an amazing game. That's why Summer League is so hot, even though the season ended last month with the Golden State winning another championship. People are still into basketball. Baseball has to find a way to stop making guys who are not MVP players that were, the highest paid player in the universe. That's disingenuous, and a lot of fans will turn away from that. We love football coming. We all want to be a millionaire. In fact, we all want to be a billionaire. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, I want to look forward to and go back to the future. Well, I want to talk about the power of the minority athlete in America, Charlton. 51 years ago today, Clem Daniels led a march with the NFL players, Charlton, to get the NFL owners to change an all-star game from New Orleans in 1967. He played with the Oakland Raiders.
Yes.
After they've been in so many cities, I can't remember what they've been. But he was the number one draft pick out of one of the historical black colleges, Charlton. He led them to the championship, Charlton, the AFC championship. They lost the Super Bowl to the Green Bay Packers. But the black players in the NFL forced the NFL owners to move the all-star game that was slated for New Orleans that year, because of the racial division, to move it to another city. Unity works in sports if you just stand pat. And I want to say this about the NFL owners when they're talking about fining the players if they make any political stance.
Yes.
This is not the first time. 1967, what Colin Kaepernick had been started before in the Bay Area by Clem Daniels of the Oakland Raiders.
Tell you what, Big C, something about knowledge and history, we all love hearing it. But if you don't mention it, then sometimes people don't hear it. You can hear it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.